Middle-aged men like me and Jeremy, well, we're in the prime of our lives, right? Well, not according to former BBC star Simon Mayo. He said in a new interview that his former BBC radio show would have no chance in today's woke era. The 63-year-old discusses movie reviews alongside 58-year-old Mark Kermode on a podcast that recently moved to Sony. Definitely not for the money. However, Mayo suggested that it would be impossible for the BBC to take on the same show now, given that it would be fronted by two middle-aged men. So, Jeremy, middle-aged men, do we have it tough?
No, not at all, no. The world had to change. Genuinely, I believe the world had to change, right? The problem I have with it, because it should be about talent, and I've said this to you before, there should be a balance, and we have gone the other way.
Oh, no, okay? See, that's a good point.
But we have gone the other way. I am absolutely awful, like I was saying the other day about politicians. You know, they were saying, well, we should have an all-female list in the Tiverton constituency of the man who was looking for a Dominator tractor. Brilliant. And had the whip removed. But anyway, moving on.
He was trying to find Corn Hub.
He was. Oh, wow. Oh. But he was only watching the trailer.
Hey!
Yes, great political. Yeah, we've done that. Anyway, so you throw me completely. But what I would say is that I'm absolutely strange enough for equality and diversity. But there is an argument that says that if it goes the other way, like it was going to be an all-female list of MPs, that's wrong. It should be on talent. And, you know, I mean, the BBC wouldn't listen to what the BBC said. They don't have to justify what they do because they just take our taxpayer, our licence fee, and that's it. But for me, it should be about talent. I think the world had to change, but
isn't that the problem?
Balance.
Isn't the problem, though, that instead of really pushing the talent, and that's the hard thing to do, which is you've got to go back into schools. You've got to persuade people to come into this thing. You've got to persuade people to go and get skills and talents and perhaps be sent off for all sorts of different training and lessons and all that sort of stuff. Because to do the jobs that we're talking about means that you have to have a lot of skills, sending people off to journalism school, whatever it may be. So you've got to do all that stuff. And instead what we're doing is we're looking at people almost on face value and going, OK, you'll do, and we'll try and pick it up. And then sometimes, and quite often, it doesn't work because we didn't do the hard work.
Nick, do you think genuinely it should be on talent and ability? It doesn't matter about sex or colour or creed or experience, isn't it what you're good at, right?
I think that good TV shows involve diversity. And I think that if you have had the Mayo show, him and Kermode, for however long it's been, over 10 years, hasn't it, that they've been doing it?
83 years.
Yeah, 83. About 83 years.
And he's named after a toilet.
I know, exactly. That shows how old he is. But
Mark Kermode. There we go.
Surely it is time for a change, a time for a bit of difference. I don't think things are difficult for middle-aged men. I understand the argument that you guys both make, which is that maybe...
I said it isn't hard for middle-aged men.
No. OK, well, sorry. Maybe James. Sorry, I was lumping you into one pot there.
But if something's really popular, though, why ding it?
Well, they didn't. They just got paid more money by Sony.
This is true. So they're still taking it elsewhere. But I suppose their point is that if they were two mates who really like reviewing movies and they came along to the BBC and said, we've got a really good idea for this, what they're saying is it wouldn't be commissioned.
Yeah.
So to my mind, that's wrong. Because if somebody else comes to them with the idea...
But why should they take a chance on two middle-aged guys? They're probably more likely to take a chance on somebody who's fresh to the BBC.
No, but there I would take exception with you. If their project, if their programme, if their ability to present and it would get audience.
Yeah.
Right? Now, here's the thing that I will say. You say all good programmes about diversity. The truth of the matter is the BBC doesn't live in a commercial field. talkTV and commercial TV stations survive only on how many audiences get. And that's their audience, right?
Yeah.
People then buy adverts, there's revenue and everybody... So you have to justify by the quality of the programme. So my reason about saying balance is, whilst ticking the boxes, which I think needed to happen, you also have to make sure you make good quality programmes, otherwise you won't have any revenue.
True, but this isn't just about programming. This is about middle-aged men in general. And in general, over the last 30 years, 16 to 24-year-olds have been consistently the highest unemployment rate of any group, on average. So it's complete tosh to say that middle-aged men have it tougher.
But do you think, though, that every generation says that they've had it tough, and sometimes we get it wrong? For example, I think that we sent too many people to university without necessarily thinking about changing our economy to deal with that. And it's not to say that people shouldn't have the chance to go and get education, but if you have that education, if your economy doesn't change, then people are going to shun and turn their way away from the sorts of jobs that they were thinking of getting.
I think the chat about talent is really interesting, and I think talent is everywhere, opportunity is not. And that actually does loop back to our earlier discussion about education as well. And I think I'm a huge fan of Simon Mayo and Mark Kermode. I think their film reviews are... I'm like a huge fan of those. And they will... I'm not really going to get the tiny violin out, the nano violin, because they will be raking it in. Like, let's not kid ourselves. And often the men who do say that they're cancelled have got huge platforms and have signed, like, got lots of great TV opportunities. And I do think sometimes you do need a bit of positive action. So I was part of the Labour Party that brought in all-women shortlists, and part of it was we were putting really good women forward, but particularly in the Labour Party with members, they were just not seeing women as politicians.
Why has the Labour Party not had a female leader yet?
I'm going to come to that. I'm going to come to that, if you let me finish. Thanks very much. And I think one of the problems is, I think for a lot of people, you have to get a critical mass. So the Labour Party was doing all-women shortlists. Now it's actually stopped doing them because so many women are coming forward and they are getting selected. But you're right, just because we have had those measures, it doesn't mean that the Labour Party is perfect. It is ridiculous that the Labour Party has not had a female leader, and that shows you how deep structural sexism can go. And that's what I mean. I actually would have an all-female list for the next leader of the Labour Party.
Right, moving on before we get involved. Can I just say, as a middle-aged man who hasn't found it tough, I was sent by a very nice lady called Julie some oil, have you seen this, for my dodgy knees, which she said if I rub it every night, it'll make my joints easier in the morning.